Hey everyone, welcome back to the channel. It's February. Well done for making it through January. For me at least, it's crazy. It feels like the time's gone so quickly. I feel like we were just celebrating New Year's and suddenly race season is kind of creeping up fast on me. First off, if you're still here following my half marathon journey, thank you. Training through winter hasn't been easy, and I'm sure it hasn't been easy for you either. And balancing running with work, travel and life, well, let's just say the past few weeks have been a bit of a challenge. In this episode, I want to take you through my latest training week, including a work trip to Denmark, where I had to figure out how to keep my training on track while spending long days in meetings, eating hotel food, and also having to navigate the struggle of treadmill training. It wasn't easy, and I'll be honest, I didn't love every second of it. But that's why I wanted to share this episode, because I know so many of you out there are trying to fit running into kind of real life, not some ideal training bubble where you get 8 hours of sleep every day, you are getting the perfect nutrition balance, and you've got unlimited free time. So let's get into it. So for those that don't know, Billund is a small town in Denmark, and it's famous for one thing really, and that's Lego. It's literally where Lego was invented, and it's home to LEGOLAND as well, which is pretty cool. But unfortunately, I wasn't there to build giant brick castles. I was there for work. The trip was amazing, but it was extremely intense. We had long back-to-back meetings, brainstorming sessions, and late nights with my colleagues, which meant that my schedule was kind of all over the place. And if you've ever tried to maintain a training plan while traveling, you'll know it's pretty tough. You're in a new environment, your sleep schedule is completely off, and your usual food options are, well, let's just say not ideal. And don't get me started on the hotel breakfasts. Delicious, but probably not the best for fueling my runs. One of the highlights of the trip, I managed to squeeze in an easy 7k run around Billund. It was cold, quiet, and honestly a little eerie because the streets were so empty. But the best part was definitely getting to run past and around Legoland. Now, unfortunately, it was closed for the season, so I didn't get to sprint past like a roller coaster or the kind of Lego driving school. But just seeing the giant Lego structures was pretty fun. This run wasn't about speed. It was about getting outside, moving my legs, and kind of keeping my body in rhythm despite the travel and the meetings and the long days. And sometimes that's all that a run really needs to be. Most of the challenge is actually getting out the front door, or in this case, the hotel room door, in the first place, and just getting out into the outdoors and getting your run in. But when you're out in a different country and you're traveling with work, the real challenge is getting a proper workout in. I had a tempo run scheduled, and with the limited options, it meant one thing: the dreaded treadmill. Now, let me be honest, I absolutely hate treadmill running. I know some people love it, but for me, it feels like running in slow motion. Every minute drags, and I constantly find myself checking the time, and it takes everything in me not to just kind of stop halfway through. I'm constantly looking at those kind of kilometers ticking over. But I had to get it done. 40 minutes, tempo pace, grinding through. It wasn't the most exciting run, but it was a solid session, And that's what counts when you're training. You don't always have to love it, but you just have to show up. But let's be real, balancing work and training is hard. Some days I really wanted to skip my runs. Some days I felt completely drained from sitting in meetings all day, as crazy as it sounds. And some days I questioned why I was even trying to train whilst I was travelling and I had such long days. But here's what I've learned. Consistency is more important than perfection. Even if your workouts aren't necessarily ideal, showing up is what matters. You have to be flexible. Sometimes that means swapping an outdoor run for the treadmill or adjusting your schedule on the fly. And finally, don't be too hard on yourself. If you miss a run or have a bad workout, then really it's not the end of the world. The key is the consistency and just to keep going. If you miss one run, just make sure that you are showing up for the next. And now that I'm back home, it's time to get back into the real kind of training mode. I've got 4 runs a week lined up, as usual, and they're going to be focusing on 1 easy run for consistency, 2 harder sessions, which are tempo runs, and then intervals as well, and 1 long run to keep building the endurance that I need. And I guess on to the next big test. It's one that I mentioned in the last episode, but it's going to be the London Winter Run 10K at the end of this month, so the end of February. So the 10K run that I've got at the end of the month is going to be a huge fitness test for me. My goal is going to be to run the 10 kilometers in sub 48 minutes. That means I need to hold around a 4:45 kilometer pace, which is just outside my comfort zone. It's going to push me, but that's kind of the whole point. If I can hit that time, I will feel way more confident going into my Brooklyn half marathon training. And honestly, I'm really excited. Winter races tend to have such a great atmosphere. The crowds, the energy, the sense of accomplishment after running through the cold. And I really see it as all being part of the journey that's going to take me to the Brooklyn Half Marathon in April. So this past week wasn't perfect. It definitely tested me. It definitely challenged me. But it also reminded me why I'm doing this. Running isn't always about feeling great. It's about showing up, even when it's hard. And if you're someone who struggles to balance running with work, life, or just feeling unmotivated, trust me, I completely get it. But the main thing that I want to kind of convey to you is just don't quit. Keep putting one foot in front of another. Next up, I'm going to be sharing my final prep for the London Winter Run 10K. So make sure you're subscribed and if you want to follow along. And let me know in the comments, how do you balance running with a busy life? I'd love to hear your tips because I definitely need the help. And if you've got this far into the video, whilst you wait for episode 5, why not check out episode 3 of the series, which will be currently on the screen. Thanks again for watching, and I'll see you in episode 5. And remember, stay healthy and stay curious.